And there we go. Okay, now we got it. Now we got it going on. Now we got it. I just had to push a little buttons there. Forgot to push certain buttons, and there we go. Can you tell us the right serious story of an exorcism? Sure. Yep. Yeah, we're going to talk about that tonight, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the historical aspects of it, and but we'll get into it in just a second. But folks, hello and welcome to the show. Happy Friday to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. I hope that you're safe. Obviously, we know that there's a big storm, but before we get into this, so I'm Bishop Long. I'm the presiding bishop with the United States Whole Catholic Church, and I appreciate you guys spending this Friday, this Paranormal Friday, with us. This is the only time of the week, the only day where we actually dedicate our show, one show, an hour and 45 minutes a week, that's it, to the paranormal. Every other time that we're on, we are talking Bible study, we are doing night prayer, and we are praying for each other. That's it. There we go. So I just want to give you guys heads up on that. That way you'll know what the schedule is. So we have Mass. I'll go ahead and tell you the schedule. Mass is on TikTok only at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. And then, of course, we have Bible study at 8 o'clock and then night prayer at 10 o'clock, all Eastern Standard Time. Everything runs everywhere except for the Mass. It's on TikTok. And then, of course, we have also night prayer Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Bible study on Wednesday. We have a schedule, and it's on the website. So anyway, just be aware that we do a lot of theology. Actually, 90% of our time, if not more, is in theology and teaching scripture, which it should be. And so Friday nights is the only time where we just kind of chill, relax, and have a Paranormal Friday show. So obviously, for those of you who are in this terrible winter storm, be safe. Really be safe. This is, look, here's the deal. I understand, this is no joke. There are people they're going to lose power on this winter storm. They're going to lose power. And there's no doubt about it. There's going to be a lot of ice and sleet. And that's scary. You got to think about that when you're going, at minus temperatures in the lows, and then you lose power. That's scary. So I think we should all keep, everybody who's going to be affected by this storm in your thoughts and prayers. And hopefully that if there is power that is lost, that it's not very long, and that they have some type of, you have a lot of ice in California. Wow. And hopefully that's, because you're in Missouri. Well, so here's the deal with it looks like with us, buy extra blankets. Yeah. I mean, I would, but we're talking, it's going to get their crossing guard paranormal said their wind chill was almost minus 40 degrees. Minus 40. So that is no joke. That is no joke. So wherever you are, make sure you stay safe, and hopefully this people don't lose. I just don't want people losing electricity. That's the scary part. I'm in Kentucky, and so it's kind of like a one. I mean, it's fascinating to me, really. And the old joke is you can be a meteorologist and be wrong half the time and still keep your job. See, when I was a dean of a college, you couldn't be wrong half of the time. You would lose your job. You wouldn't keep it. So, I mean, it's just amazing how they're still changing the forecast. It's less than 24 hours away, and they're still changing the forecast. It's like, come on. I don't know. I miss the old days. There was on Wave 3 in Louisville, Kentucky, a meteorologist named Tom Wills. And this was way before all these computers and all that. Tom Wills knew exactly when it was going to rain. He would tell you when the first raindrop would hit, and he was right all the time. I know he was just one of those. He was an old school meteorologist, and he knew what he was doing. And if he told you, if he said it's going to snow, it's going to snow, or sleet, whatever it might be. They're changing it everywhere. Yeah, is it crazy, isn't it? So anyway, no matter what your faith is, I think we can all keep everyone in your thoughts and prayers, because this is a really serious, dangerous storm, and this is no joke. So anybody who thinks it is obviously is missing the boat on a lot of things. So, 62 in South. Oh my goodness gracious. Is it Carrie? It says 62 in Southern California, 50 at night. I thought that was cool. That is crazy. That is wild. It's so interesting how the temperatures are so dramatically different, isn't it? It's crazy. But nonetheless, now I was today. It's been a long day for me. I had to preside at a funeral. Willie Windwalker's wife, Shaman, she passed away. And so Willie asked me, I've known Willie for 25 years now, and I was very good friends with Shaman. Willie Windwalker Gibson, he's a shaman. Thank you very much. He's just a great human being. He's been on the show multiple times. And so Shaman passed away in his arms. And it was really a beautiful story, the way he was described it. Her breathing was laborious, and he could tell. And then he held her, and as he held her, she breathed her last breath. And so I want to say one thing that was obviously emotional, but it was a beautiful moment. But with AI, see, AI can be used in a way that's wonderful, and it can be also used in a way that's nefarious. But I got to tell you guys, so Shaman love. We'll get into the paranormal. This is important. So last week, I visited her in the hospital, and I administered the last rites. And she had severe, I mean, we're talking severe bed sores. That Willie they were all trying to make sure that they fix it because she couldn't get up. She couldn't stand. I mean, she had lost her limbs. And, you could see the holes were quite deep. I mean, they were massive, and anybody would be in excruciating pain. And when I went to the hospital, she lit up. She just lit up, and I administered the last rites, and she was able to receive communion. And she just sang. She was singing. I love my Father. I love Jesus. I love the Holy Spirit. And she would just repeat it. I love the Father. I love Jesus. I love the Holy Spirit. She loved to sing. And I thought, that is profound faith. It really is. Here she is, this poor soul is literally having holes in her body that you can see. And she's singing. I thought, to me, that was unbelievable. That was profound. That was a really profound moment. And I want to share something, because I think everybody should be aware of this. The kindness that you offer people, you never know how that's going to be repaid to others later. So Judy Ann, I was working on some projects, and Judy Ann, of course, we've known Judy Ann. She's a dear friend of mine. I consider her family. And she gave me some thumb drives. And I was thinking the other day, I recorded Shaman singing 4 songs last year on the phone. I recorded her sing her face. She wrote hymns. She actually wrote them and everything. And what I did is I got those recordings and I put it in an AI program. And that AI program actually produced the songs. And I was able to put her voice singing the songs. And then I put the professional recording all on these thumb drives, and I gave one to each of her children. You see, that's what I'm saying. When you don't, I don't care if you believe me or not, Alex. Let me just share it. Like, for example, this is Shaman singing "As Long as I Have Jesus."
As long as I have Jesus, I'm never alone. As long as I have Jesus, I'm never alone. No matter
Now you got to remember, she's in pain at this time. And she was recording this. And there's another one. I love this one. Listen to this.
Is I'm going to walk and talk with my Lord.
She wrote these. Watch this.
I'm going to walk and talk with my Lord. I'm going to walk and talk with my Lord. I'm going to tell him how I love him and I always will. I'll always love him for eternity. I'm going to get down on my knees and praise his name. I'm going to walk and talk with my Lord.
So this is what I did. I put her sound, her vocals together.
I'm gonna walk and talk with my Lord.
Isn't that cool?
I'm gonna walk and talk with my Lord. I'm gonna tell him how I love him and I always will. I'll always love him for eternity. I'm gonna get down on my knees and praise his name. I'm gonna walk and talk with my Lord.
So these songs are not copyrighted. I told her last year, I said, one day we'll be able to find a program where we'll be able to produce it and make it a professional sound for you. Done. And that's why it's very important for you to always remember that when you do something good for someone today, just be aware that ripple effect could last for months. Because Judy Ann gave me those thumb drives last year. Never, ever did we ever anticipate that those thumb drives would be a blessing to her children by putting the 4 songs that I have her recording on her voice and the 4 songs that are professionally done are on those thumb drives for her children to have for the rest of their life. See, that's, my friends, that reminds all of us that when one small act of kindness can have a ripple effect. Pretty powerful stuff. Obviously, bear with me. Trolls, I won't pay attention to you. You're demonic. We're not paying attention to you. If you're going to troll during this time, that says more about your spirituality, which is a lack. You're not going to get my attention. You're not going to get under my skin. You're going to be blocked by the moderators. We don't think trolling is cute here. We're adults. We actually look down on trolling. So if you troll, you'll be blocked. That's it. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for being here, everybody. I'm telling you, it is, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it's like Andrew got blocked. Pity. Okay. Andrew has to sit in the kids' table. All right. Tonight, we're going to talk about a really interesting topic. Exorcisms. Now, eventually, we have an announcement. I can't make the official announcement yet, but we're going to be moving. And I believe, let me double check the schedule. Hold on, everybody. It may be next week, next Friday. It might be. I'll let you know. But the show will start at 8 p.m. until 10 p.m. Well, there's Willie. There's Willie Gibson. And Willie did a great job. They've been married for over 30 years. And Willie, whenever you're ready to get back on air, you let me know, and we'll put you right back on air and keep you as busy as you want to be, buddy. But we're going to eventually move the show from 8 until 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because this show right here, because right now it airs from 7 to 9. It's not the greatest time. I've always liked 8 to 10. So now that spot has come available, and I'll let you know. I will let you know if it's going to be next week or the 6th, but it will be very soon. Okay. For those of you who don't know, so I serve as the presiding bishop for the United States Catholic Church. I also serve as an exorcist. I studied in the Roman Catholic priesthood for 6 years, studied Roman canon law. I know the catechism quite well, received my minor orders, was trained in the rite, was actually going to go to Rome to study, but at that, it was so expensive. It was just not even, because I needed an interpreter, and so I didn't need to, because I had the studies when I was in the seminary. So for those of you who always want to know why did you choose the old Catholic Church? Because God called me here. I've said this before. I knew I wanted to be a Roman Catholic priest when I was 5 years old. My whole life was built on that. I studied for the Roman Catholic priesthood, and then God said, I need you here. I didn't want to go there because I didn't know what that meant. How was I going to, because in the old Catholic Church, we don't receive a stipend or salary or a church. We don't receive any compensation whatsoever for our ministry. And I don't charge, and I never have for my ministry, never. But Santa Claus doesn't pay the bills. So how was I going to take care of the ministry? How was I going to be able to afford it? How was going to be able to live? So for 1 year, I begged God to take that calling away from me and let me be a Roman Catholic priest. And God said, no, I need you here. I prayed. My spiritual director was a Roman Catholic priest. One of my instructors, by the way, was Bishop Bob Barron, Robert Barron. Brilliant mind. He's in the Roman Catholic Church. And so eventually they said, look, if God is calling you to do this, you need to listen. So I did. So this is why I'm here. As of today, I performed 34 documented exorcisms on people who were truly possessed. And I've been on Ghost Adventures, the Bobby Mackey's episodes. I'm a cast member on Eli Roth Presents Legion of Exorcists show. It was a brilliant show. Right now, everything is on hiatus. We just simply don't know anything about second seasons. We haven't heard anything. But the Legion of Exorcists show is streaming on all the platforms, and meaning Netflix and Hulu and all that. What they did is they put a cast together of actual exorcists from different denominations, and we talked about our cases and what they reenacted those cases through actors and things of this nature. So I've been in the paranormal field. My first time that I investigated a location was 35 years ago. Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky, where I live. And so I've been in the field for a long time. And I go to paranormal conferences and I teach about demonology. I teach about what happens. I don't go into great detail of an exorcism, but I go teach, give you an idea. The first show that I will be doing on the new network, which, by the way, I'm going to a new network. I'll let you guys know about that soon. That I'm going to tell you exactly what happens during an exorcism. That way you'll know, because I think it's important to kind of, and this is, I'm not doing anything that even the Roman Catholic Church hasn't done. So they're Roman Catholic exorcists who are doing presentations on what happens during an exorcism. So I'm going to talk to you guys about what happened, what I have seen, what I've witnessed, what is Hollywood, and what is real life. Because I think that's very important. Tonight's presentation is going to be about perhaps maybe exorcisms you've never heard about. And some of these exorcisms were quite aggressive and violent, and some maybe not so much. I have found that most of the time when I perform an exorcism on someone who is possessed, the solemn rite, usually it's transient possession. So perfect possession is when the individual is in a perfect stage of possession. There's no relief. That is very dangerous because the body can only sustain so much trauma. I've always wanted to know. I wanted to be a priest. Always. My first time that I read a book on demonology when I was 9 years old. And I didn't know why. It's just, when everybody else was, I still played sports and everything like this, but I loved going to the local public branch library down, where we lived. I was always there. As a matter of fact, I loved it so much, I eventually worked there. And I could not stop reading books on demonology. It was absolutely important for me to know what was the opposite of God. And I knew since I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a priest. And that never went away, ever. So when a person suffers what's called transient possession, that's when the demonic will enter the body and leave at will. But the person remains in the stage of oppression and obsession. And I'll go through this again when I'm talking about possession, what happens during an exorcism in the first show on the new network. So transient possession, the demonic will enter and leave. Normally, when I enter into a home, the person has not gone into the stage of transient possession. They may be agitated, but sometimes they're not at all. Sometimes they're very controlled. And that is really the demonic trying to hide behind the individual. And then what an exorcist will do is we will provoke. Provoking is not beating your chest and saying, I dare you to do something. I dare you to do something. That's invitation. Let's say, Bishop, I'm Roman Catholic, but the thing about changing to Old Catholic, meaning bishop, can also, I don't know what the last part was. By the way, for those of you who are curious, the Roman Catholic Church acknowledges our orders. I mean, Saint Pope John Paul, Pope Benedict, Pope Francis. There's an article that was written that's Dominus Jesus that says any church that has apostolic succession is considered validly Catholic. The Bishop of Utrecht was in Pope Leo's installation. So for those of you who are unaware, again, I studied Roman canon law. I'm very familiar with it. So when I go into a location and the person suffers from transient possession, I will begin provoking. And sometimes I will use holy water, oil, blessed oil, sacramentals of the church to force the entity to manifest. And there are signs that I look for. That's when things get very quiet. And then you start having some issues. And we'll talk about those issues on the show when I'm in my new network, either next week or the week after. Okay. Yes. So you have in the Catholic Church, Roman Catholic Church, you have bishops and then, of course, an archbishop and a cardinal. Apostolic succession is Peter laid hands upon this disciple lays hand upon that disciple. In other words, it's not an online ordination. So I have a 110-page documentation showing my apostolic succession to Peter. I'm a member of Order of Corporate Reunion. It's an organization that validates clergy's apostolic succession or not. So, and I'm a member of the OCR. All right, let's get into our presentation. Okay, everybody? Okay. Yeah, I've already given the presentation, guys. I can't keep answering the same question again about what church, because if I do, then I'll never get to the presentation. So moderators, just please remember to just let people know about the church and the website. By the way, do me a favor. Make sure you go to my site, and that's Bishop James Long, Long. Follow that up with a .com. And here's why I want you to do this. I want you to buy my books. Now, before the trolls start saying I knew you were a fake, allow me to school you. First, this book here is called Understanding the Parables. So if you ever wanted to know about the parables, here it is. If you go to Bishop James Long and follow that up with a .com, click on the books link. The next book that I want you to buy is The Archangels Explained. And the trolls are going to be absolutely embarrassed in a moment. 7 Archangels Explained. And then there's one more book, and that is called, well, it's down here. Hold on. I won't. It is called the Paranormal Investigators Training Manual. So, I really don't care. JLB. Do you think it's blasphemous? Okay, well then you're more than welcome to put a book cover together. Oh, that's right. You don't. You just judge. Now, for those of you who are Christians and who actually real Christians and they don't judge, 100% of the profits from these books are going to the MKS Kids Foundation. So for the people who are making rude comments about, I knew you were just doing this for money, now you look like a fool. 100% of the profits goes to them. They are an orphanage that we are funding, we're helping to fund, and we do the best we can. These are my books. And obviously, if, it's one of those things, we have every right. When you're an author, you have every right to receive your money. It's your book. Every author does it. But as a community, we are donating the funds to help MKS Kids Foundation. All right. Okay. No, they're fools because a trolling is demonic. Let me make that very clear. Trolling is demonic, and I'm not going to apologize to trolls. I stand toe-to-toe against them because when you troll somebody, you can't have Christ in your heart. Because if you truly have Christ in your heart, you don't troll other people. Plain and simple. Trolling is a sign of demonic activity. All right. Let's trace, we're going to trace a dark, forgotten chapter from the colonial frontier. It's an account shrouded in fear, superstition, something far beyond human understanding. And moderators, let me know if TikTok gets bad, because it always does with mean people and judgmental people. And I will put sub chat on very fast, and I won't care. So if you're going to troll, I'm going to put sub chat on. So if you want to chat, be kind. That's all we ask. Otherwise, sub chat will be on for the whole night. Okay. Yeah, Tyler. So let's get back to this. We travel back to 1764. 1764. And to the isolated outposts of the New Mexico colony, where reports of unexplainable horrors, demonic possession, exorcisms shook the very foundation on the settlement. We'll get into your questions after, guys. For those of you who are new, I always doing a presentation. So you're here. I don't just look at the camera and say, okay, now entertain me. I actually do a presentation, and every single time I am live. So we always do a presentation, and then we get to your questions afterwards. Folks, this isn't just about history. It's a story of evil that refused to die, of shadows that refuse to be banished. It's a story that lingers like a bad dream. So prepare yourself. Let's talk about by the way, what you're about to hear is real. And this first case that we're going to talk about with demonic possession, it's a New Mexico colony exorcism in 1764. So let me just set the scene for you. It's 1764, the Spanish Empire's northern frontier, what we now call northern New Mexico. It's a rugged, unforgiving landscape. The land is cracked and arid, and it's dotted with mesas and deep canyons and sparse settlements. It's a hostile wilderness. The settlers are hardy, mostly Spanish colonists, Catholic missionaries, indigenous tribes living side by side. But this land is also steeped in old legends, whispered stories passed down by generations of spirits in the mountains, curses that's etched into the stones, echoes of ancient rituals. So the outpost in question is a small fortified village, no more than a cluster of abode buildings. There's a church, a few scattered homes. It's remote, so isolated that any news takes weeks to arrive. And the nearest town was miles away, across treacherous terrain. But the settlers there are very superstitious. They're deeply religious. They're wary of the land's dark history. Nothing could prepare them for what was to come. So it begins subtly. So the Martinez family, early in the year, start to notice strange things. Juan, the youngest child, is no longer himself. His eyes, once bright, full of life, turn dark, like black marbles reflecting no light. His behavior becomes erratic. He whispers to himself in strange voices, words that nobody recognizes, words that seem to hiss and scratch at the back of his throat. His small hands tremble uncontrollably and often stares into space, like he's seeing something that no one else can. Now, his mom, Maria, recalls nights where Juan would wake up suddenly, eyes wide, face twisted in terror. She'd find him clutching his chest, trembling, and eyes darting wildly as if pursued by unseen monsters. One night, Juan screams, a blood-curdling sound that echoes through the walls, and his body thrashes violently, convulsing as if, seized by invisible claws. His skin is turning pale, almost translucent, His mouth opens like in a silent scream. Then, you're very welcome, Angela. Angelique, sorry. Then the marks. Small, irregular scars that appeared overnight, like burns or scratches. No one saw anyone do them. They seemed to appear out of nowhere, and sometimes they'd be gone by morning. So the local healer is an old indigenous shaman. He was called in, and he examined Juan and muttered darkly about a spirit, something evil that had latched onto him, feeding off of his fear. So desperation drives the community to seek help beyond their own faith. And they send a messenger to the nearby mission, summoning Father Miguel. He was a man known for an unwavering faith, but also haunted by nightmares of darkness. He arrives with a small group of friars and acolytes. Acolytes are servers. They were carrying relics. Relics are saint bones, crosses, holy water, and the journey is perilous. The rough terrain, unpredictable weather, and the outpost atmosphere, it kind of thickens with dread. The air feels very heavy and oppressive, like a storm, gathering just beyond sight. Well, Father Miguel and his team prepare for the exorcism, setting up candles, holy symbols, relics, and the villagers, they all gather, they're nervous. The night is silent, except for the crackling of the burning herbs and the distant howls of wolves. So the ritual begins at midnight. The room is dimly lit by, the flickering candles, and Juan is restrained to prevent him from injuring himself and others. His body is trembling violently, muscles tense, corded like bowstring. His eyes, once vacant, now blaze with an unnatural fire, swirling with darkness. By the way, many of this information comes from the priest's diary that I was able to find, or copies of. And Father Miguel's voice rises in prayer, calling upon saints. That's what you do when it's called the Litany of the Saints. And the air grows icy cold, so cold that the breath turns to mist. And then suddenly, Juan's body arches backward with a violent snap. His voice shifts, deep, guttural, almost unrecognizable. And Juan said, "You cannot free me. I am eternal. I am darkness incarnate." The room, they described it like shuddering, as if the foundation was trembling. Shadows seemed to reach out with tendrils and curling from the corners like smoke. And the priest grabbed their rosaries, their voices trembling. And the demon, or whatever it was, begins to scream. The way they described it sounds like any human voice, a hideous, otherworldly shriek. Now, according to legend and even some reports, Maria Martinez, the mother, said Juan's eyes, oh God, those eyes, they turned black like the abyss itself. His face twisted in agony. She said she saw shadows crawl across his skin. And when the exorcism started, he roared like a beast. She described it as loud enough to be shattering glass. Father Miguel wrote in his diary, the demon was fierce. It fought us, screaming in a loud voice that was not human. Said, I felt as if the darkness itself was alive, trying to consume us. And one of the elders wrote that I saw shadows slither across the wall after the ritual. So even after the exorcism, the darkness didn't leave. The land itself seemed to hold a malevolent presence, that's why you're supposed to perform. You have to bless the land. And people reported hearing whispers in the night, voices calling their names, voices that sound like wands, but twisting and mocking. And then shadows flickered at the edge of vision, always just out of reach. And sleep, thank you. Sleep became impossible. Children and adults experienced nightmares in this town. They described visions of black figures being scratched, and Juan's behavior changed permanently. Though physically recovered, his eyes remained haunted, like a vacant, they described it. And he would sometimes stare at nothing. mouthing silent words. She always listened. I didn't say anything to Siri, go away. She's always listening. Anyway, rude. The community grew paranoid, and many refused to sleep alone, and some claimed to see unexplainable figures standing silently at the windows watching. So over the decades, stories grew darker. Some say the demon or spirit, whatever it was only temporarily banished. Some believe it was a banshee, that it still lurks, waiting beneath the surface of the land. Local legends actually speak of what's called the shadowed ones, entities that crawl from the dark when the moon is thin, whispering promises of power or death. And there were reports of ghostly apparitions, figures cloaked in black, eyes glowing red, moving through the ruins at night. Some say they are spirits of those who failed to banish the evil. The land itself, many believe it's cursed, imbued with a dark energy. Now, so what truly lurks in the shadows of 1764? Was it a demon, an ancient spirit awakening, a banshee, a portal? Some believe that the land itself is haunted by malevolent intelligence, something that feeds on fear, waiting for the right moment to return. And the exorcisms may have pushed the evil back temporarily, but it's still there beneath the surface. Even to this day, people think that this land is cursed. So if you venture into these remote parts of New Mexico, the locals will tell you beware. If you listen closely at night, you can hear whispers or catch a fleeting shadow slipping past the firelight. It's a fascinating story when you go into some of these. Oh wow, peaceful places that they used to live there. I believe it. Wow, very cool. There's a lot of a lot of stories like this that a lot of people don't know. And I want to tell you another story. This is the exorcism of Emma Schmidt in 1928. So for those of you who are new, those of you just tuning in, I'm Bishop Long. I serve as an exorcist for the United States Catholic Church. Performed 34 exorcisms, and we're talking about historical exorcisms and kind of teaching a little bit about this. So I have, or Orion, I've been in the paranormal field for 35 years. So I've been to many locations. No, I'm not northernmost. So let's go into this. Let's talk about this one, the exorcism of Emma Schmidt. But see, Mr. Board, I've heard several different arguments on banshees. All right. In 1928, in a modest farmhouse nestled deep in the Pennsylvania countryside, a young woman named Emma Schmidt was seized by a force so malevolent that it defied reason. So what followed was an exorcism so horrifying, it actually left scars on the souls of those who witnessed it, perhaps even the land itself. Northernmost, because that's what your name says, northernmost. So tonight I'll take you into that night, through every shadow, every scream, every whisper of darkness. But I warn you, some of you might haunt your dreams here, because this is a scary one. In 1928, Emma Schmidt is a girl of 19 years old, living on the edge of a quiet Pennsylvania farm. And her world is simple: growing crops, tending to her chickens, singing hymns in the evening glow. But beneath the peaceful surface, something dark was stirring. So the farmhouse is aged, weathered wood, creaking boards, walls thick with the scent of earth and old memories. Outside, the wind whispers through cracks, carrying with it the scent of lamp leaves and distant thunderstorms. Inside, the air is heavy with the smell of burning wood, stale, sweet, and just the sweetness that they described it occurs right before the exorcism. They had this smell that's sweet, they said. The faint aroma of lavender. And Emma's eyes are bright, full of life, curiosity, hope, but something begins to twist that innocence. It starts subtly, objects shifting slightly out of place when no one is looking, shadows flickering at the edge of her vision. She feels it. An icy prickling, like something prying into her mind. One night, Emma wakes up from her sleep, and her bedroom was cold as ice. Her breath forms fog in the air, and she sees it, a shadow, tall and shifting thing. And just beyond her window, she blinks, it's gone. The feeling lingers, a presence, a whispering voice, like the old rustle of dead leaves. Anyway, her family dismisses her fears. They say it's the wind, her imagination, but Emma's nightmares grow deeper. Visions of black twisting figures crawling even across her walls, whispering secrets that in voices, she could hear them. And then the unthinkable happened. Emma is found in her bed, trembling, eyes wide. Her face is streaked with tears and dirt. Her body is tense. Her voice is hoarse, whispering words that no one can understand, like guttural, like a growl. So Emma's nightmare becomes a nightmare reality. She begins to convulse violently. Her limbs are jerking with unnatural force, muscles twisting beneath her skin. Her body arches, trembles as if she's fighting unseen demons. And many people would think that would be epilepsy. And again, that's an important thing to note. People say, well, this can be easily explained. Not when they levitate. So her voice, once sweet and clear, changes, deepens, echoes, distorts into a guttural snarl. She speaks in tongues, Latin, Greek, words that she had no idea. She never studied. The people who were there said that she was screaming, evil, darkness, I am eternal. So her eyes turn black, full of darkness, swirling, like the depths of midnight lake. And when she screams, they said it wasn't human. It's like a blood-curdling, unearthly cry. Her family is frantic. They're clutching rosaries, praying aloud as her body just kind of rips in pain. No, not everything is, look, I understand, and I have over 300 people in here and plenty of people here, so I can't take just one person's comment every time. I am a skeptic when it comes to people claiming to be possessed. But this is why I require a psychological evaluation prior to performing an exorcism. There are things that an individual does when they are possessed that is not mental illness. Mental illness does not cause you to levitate. Mental illness does not cause you to have the ability of retrocognition prognostication. Mental illness does not have you the ability to be able to speak in languages that you've never studied. So, one night she is found curled on the floor, trembling. Her skin is pallid, icy to the touch, but covered in sweat. And her lips are cracked, her eyes are bloodshot, staring into nothingness. She whispers in a voice that's not her own, her family said. The darkness is here, it will never leave. It is mine. The air is turning cold, and so cold that the breath turns to mist, the family says. The faint scent of rot and sulfur fills the room. That is not mental illness, but that does occur. And every sound, the creak of the floorboards, the faint hum of the wind becomes amplified, distorted, as if the very walls are listening. And desperate, Emma's family reaches out for help. And they summon Father Thomas Burke, a man that was known for his unwavering faith, experience confronting the supernatural. He arrives at dawn, shrouded in a heavy cloak, clutching a crucifix, holy water, relics. The house, they describe it as feeling alive with dread. The air is thick with the scent of incense, and shadows flicker at the edge of vision. And Emma is restrained on a battered wooden cot. Her body is tense and trembling. Her face is gaunt, cheeks sunken, eyes dark pools of malevolence. Her breathing is ragged, her chest rising and falling like a dying animal. Father Burke begins the ritual, reciting Latin prayers, crossing himself, sprinkling holy water on her forehead. His voice is calm, but beneath it, a tremor of fear. Allegedly, the room plunges into complete darkness as the candles flicker out violently. And then, of course, Father Burke begins in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And he continues, we command the unclean spirit to leave this vessel. The air, it is a true story. Yeah, SB. Yeah, thank you. You've heard this story before? It's a fascinating story. The air turns icy, and the shadows seem to ripple, and the temperature drops sharply. They even described it as frost forms on the windows, the walls. So at that time, the clock strikes midnight, and the room is shrouded in complete darkness. They had some flickering candles they were able to light, but every time they would try to light the candles, it would blow out. And yet there was nothing, there was no air, there was no window open. The air is thick, it's oppressive. Emma's body then shudders violently. Her limbs twist, and her muscles were rippling beneath her skin as if she's fighting invisible chains. Many times when a person is possessed, the face will contort. It's very serpentine look. It looks like a serpent. And in this case, it was distorted. And then her mouth opens in a silent scream, and her voice deepens, and the guttural growl comes out. Inhuman. Her eyes are black, and they look at the priest with malevolent intelligence. I've seen those eyes like this. Shadows seem to seep from her mouth, and the candles begin to flicker violently, and each flame goes out. They light it, goes out again. Light it, and it goes out again. The only sounds are her scream. They're described as raw and primal, like the cry of a dying animal. So the priest's voice rises higher, commanding, pleading, invoking divine power, and the room almost vibrates. A sulfur and decay fills every breath. That is very common. So I've had several times, and it is appalling. The smell is appalling. The point of that is it is so grotesque. It will make your stomach turn. Many times, exorcists will put little things underneath our nose. When I was a chaplain for a major metropolitan police department, we would always put like little Vicks right underneath our nose, because when you enter a scene where there is someone who has passed, the smell is pretty bad. And in this case, many times we will do that because the person will omit, or the demonic will omit such a putrid smell. It's trying to cause a disruption to the right. So her body begins to convulse again, her muscles rippling with unnatural strength. Her face twists in rage and pain. Her tongue kind of rolls out and snarls, very much like a snake. And then suddenly, complete silence. Nothing. Now, many times that will happen because it's trying to convince you that the demonic has been expelled. But this is when you're like, nope, we're going to continue until we know for a fact. So in some writings that I saw, her mom said her eyes, they were like black pits, and her screams pierced her ears. Father Burke had stated that the voice was like a chorus of the damned. And he actually felt the walls tremble when she was screaming. So the night ended, but the darkness did not retreat. Emma survived. But obviously she was scarred. Her family was scarred. Her eyes, once bright, they held a void. So like a black hole. just taking hope from everything. She would wake at night trembling, her screams echoing through the silent house. And the house itself seemed cursed. And the walls, once simple wood, they felt alive, the family said. The town refused to approach the farm. Rumors spread, tales of black figures could be seen lurking in the woods near the home, or ghostly voices. And deep down, everyone knew that the darkness was not gone. It had merely just been driven underground. So decades have passed. The story endures even today. Some say the evil was only driven into the shadows, an ancient force that slumbers beneath the earth. And people say in the depth of night, many claim to see flickering lights in the woods, even glowing eyes. And Emma, well, her name is spoken in hushed tones. She became a symbol of darkness that dwelt beyond the veil. What truly happened that night, I believe Emma was without question possessed. I do not believe it was an outbreak of madness. There is no history at all from Emma ever, at least that I could find and dig up, that demonstrated to me that there were any other issues, because this was a very loving, kind, energetic, sweet young girl. And all of a sudden something happened that a complete and total change. All right, we're going to go on to the next case. And folks, again, for those of you who are just tuning in, I'm Bishop Long, and I serve as presiding bishop for the United States Old Catholic Church. I also serve as an exorcist. I performed 34 documented exorcisms, studied for the Roman Catholic priesthood for 6 years, received my minor orders, was trained in the rite, and I teach about exorcisms and possession and the dangers of paranormal investigating. Please stay away from these locations. Do not go to locations that are known to be demonic. Stay away from them. And this is one of the reasons why I do this. We are not talking politics here. It is divisive. We're not doing it. We don't do that. We don't welcome it. And so here, no politics at all. 1788. We're going to go into the exorcism of George Lukens. George Lukens. Yeah, I think I understand a lot of people are confused, and maybe, yeah, I'm sure. I know there's a lot of people who are confused about possession, and maybe they don't want to believe that it's true. But I assure you it is. And I tell you this very clearly. So, and I've said this many, many times, for those of you who don't know, in the Old Catholic Church, in the United States Old Catholic Church, we do not receive a stipend or salary. We're not given a church. I do this ministry 100% free, meaning I pay for it out of my own pocket to travel to people's homes and help them. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been doing it for 23 by myself, and luckily now I have people to help, which I'm grateful for. I tell you this because if I did not know possession exists, I would do something else with my time. I certainly wouldn't put $15,000 on my credit card to help people for free. If I had any doubt at all, I would say, you know what? I'm not really interested. Good luck to you. But I'm telling you now, for what I have witnessed, there is absolutely no doubt, none, that possession exists. And I know some people that's a little scary. I get it. I understand. My job is to kind of teach you what kind of goes on in exorcism, what is true, what is not true, what is sensationalized, and what is not. Because a lot of people, when you accept the fact that possession exists, then you have to accept the fact that Satan does. And I think that's what frightens people. So you can go to usocc.org. It's all there for you. All right, let's go into this next topic, on this next story. And so for those of you who don't know, I will answer your questions. We always do a Q&A, but you're here, we're here. I always do a presentation. I don't just look at the camera and say, now let's entertain me. I always, no matter what I do, if I'm on camera, I'm always teaching the Bible, or Friday nights for an hour and 45 minutes only, the paranormal. All right. It's a 1788, George Lukens. It is a quiet English town. This is the story of George Lukens. He was a man seized by a force so malevolent that it shattered his mind, body, and even really the town. So in 1788, George Lukens was a man of humble means. He was a laborer. He was strong. He was gentle, a devoted husband, father of several children. His life was simple. He working in the fields, tending to his animals, praying every morning and night in a small village. Well, that's a good question. Nikki, ask me that after my presentation. Okay? And I'll answer that. So his house was modest. He had cracked stone walls, a little thatched roof, and the air was filled with a scent of damp earth, wood smoke, a faint aroma of honey and bread in his home. So, his days were routine. They were predictable until darkness crept in. So these are my notes from reading the case study and all the files and the reports and what people alleged said at this time. These are all my notes that I put together for this presentation. So it began suddenly. At first, whispers. They couldn't, indecipherable. They couldn't understand what they were saying. And then shadows flickered on the edge of his vision and like shifting shapes. It vanished when looked at directly. Well, one night, George awoke trembling, clutching his head. His face was pale, and sweat was pouring down his brow. His eyes were like darting wildly. His voice, once calm, became rough and trembling, almost like a whisper. And his wife had said, "They're here. I see them." And his wife, Elizabeth, found him trembling in bed, eyes wide, unfocused, muttering strange words. She shook him, but he wouldn't respond. He would only tremble. So over the following days, his behavior grew stranger. He would scream, almost silently in the night. His eyes rolled back, muscles were rigid. His face would twist into like a grimace of pain. Absolutely, Mary. His speech became garbled. Words that nobody could understand. And his limbs twisted unnaturally, almost like he was having like epilepsy, a seizure. But it was no longer just mental torment. Something was literally tearing at his flesh. So George's body was no longer his own. He would convulse violently. Muscles were spazzing as if seized by some demonic force. His limbs jerked uncontrollably. His head would tilt back like with a sickening crack and then snap forward just like a whiplash. His face, once a very kind man, became a mask of rage. His jaw was clenched so tightly that his teeth, you could hear him grind. And his eyes, once a beautiful blue, became black. He would scream, the guttural roar, and his voice would shift. So like one moment, they described it as a hoarse whisper, like you're hoarse, and then next, a deep growling snarl. So one time there was a situation where he had this attack. The room grew very cold, so cold that the air itself seemed to you could see your breath. There was a scent of sulfur and decay, and the breath of everyone present at that time turned to mist, and they watched him convulse, and his skin turned pallid, almost deathly, and he radiated an unnatural heat. And he would lash out wildly, clawing and biting at his body. So desperate and terrified, his family summoned Reverend Jonathan Hart. He was a veteran priest known for confronting the unexplainable. He arrived at dawn, holy water, crucifix, and the house smelled of dampness, mold, something darker, oppressive. And George was restrained on a rough wooden bed. His body trembled uncontrollably, muscles spazzing as if fighting against invisible chains. His face was gaunt. almost skeletal. Eyes were dark and swirling, and Reverend began the ritual, reciting Latin prayers and crossing himself, making the sign of cross, sprinkling holy water on George's forehead. These are all forms of provocation, forcing the entity to manifest. His voice was steady but strained, as if fighting against a force more powerful than him. And of course, he would start in nomine, Patri, Filii, Spiritus. And the air grew heavy, like a thick cold. Candles would go in and out. And the house's silence was broken only by the muffled sounds of Latin prayers and George's labored breathing. So the clock was struck midnight, and the house is cloaked in darkness. And desperately fighting the cold, the air, they described it as thick, so thick that you could taste it. Thank you. They described it as a mixture of sulfur, rotten eggs, and death. So George's body suddenly stiffens, muscles locking tight, like Charlie horses. You could see the Charlie horse in the calves. You could actually see it. His limbs were jerk unnatural strength, contorting in ways that no human should. The head tilts back, and the neck is arching at an impossible angle and snaps forward with a sickening crack. His face, once a very calm, twists into a mask of rage and agony. So his eyes, they're just black, and shadows everywhere. They could see shadows in the house. The candles kept blowing in and out as well. Remember, this was quite a long time ago. The priest continues reciting the Psalms, invoking God's power, prays the St. Michael prayer, and they described it as the house trembling. Well, as soon as they would, St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the malice and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits, who wander through the world seeking the ruin of souls. When the priest was praying this, the house, they said, began to tremble. They described it as an earthquake. And the wind started picking up. And George shuddered violently, and his muscles were just like so intense and spasm. They could see the spasms in his body. His face contorts, and the rage and the pain that he's suffering because of these horrible things. So George's sister said that the black pits swallowed his soul. And the Reverend said that the creature was fierce, more beast than anything. So the night finally ended. The exorcism allegedly was successful. But the house was silent except for the whispers and distant haunting cries. But he was forever changed. The family was forever changed. His eyes, once bright, became like an emptiness. The house remained haunted, allegedly, and shadows lingered in every corner, and whispers and strange languages echoed the halls. George was never the same. His body, remember, this was a hard-working farmer, and his body after the exorcism, he was fragile. He would tremble. And the town, they whispered of the darkness that still lurked there and watching and waiting. But he never experienced that again. Decades passed. And don't really care, Damon. Decades have passed, but the true story endures. Some say the evil was, let's get rid of that demon here. Yeah. With your name, Damon, why don't you go say hello to him? Okay. We're getting a lot of trolling right now because people who are demonically oppressed, our spirit irritates their demons. So anyway, decades have passed, but the story endures. Some say the evil was driven underground. In the woods around George's house, villagers they saw flickering lights. And what we don't really know what happened. We just know what allegedly legends say about this place. I believe, based on what I read as much as I could, I think he absolutely was possessed. There's nothing at all that would indicate that he had any type of behavior like this before. And a lot of people, especially in this area, they know this story. And in the woods, in that area, in the woods, they still don't go to that area. They tell their children, stay away from it. Okay. I want to go into this. I want to talk a little bit about a few well-known possession cases, at least for me, because I've studied these things and I study these cases. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Consider, yeah. Consider that, is it possible to have demonic oppression for years without being fully possessed? Yeah. So there's 3 stages to possession. There is demonic infestation, demonic oppression, and demonic possession. But the second stage actually has 2 parts: demonic obsession and demonic oppression. Demonic oppression is when the demons begin to attack you physically. Demonic obsession is when it begins to attack your intellect. So what happens is it's breaking your intellect and will down so that the individual can go into possession. Okay. So let's go into a few of these and then we'll get to your questions, guys. How's that? Unless there's a lot of questions, why don't we just get into your questions? All right, so let's open some of your questions back. Why would demon possess someone? Most, in the cases that I have found, except for one, there was always some form of invitation. So playing with Ouija boards or going to locations that you should not go that's known to have demonic activity. This is something that I tell people all the time, don't do this. Stay away from it. This is not anything to play around with. And so I think most of the time it's because of that. Now, I know there are a lot of people that disagree and say, oh, there's nothing wrong with the Ouija board. Okay, fine. I don't care. If that's what you believe, you're an adult. Okay. But I can tell you what I have experienced, and I would absolutely tell anybody, don't play with those things at all. So, yes, Tammy. So, understand that there was a case that I had where an individual was possessed, but what happened is the demonic was attacking 2 of the family members, and so it was transient possession. So the demonic would start attacking, and they come in clutters. So many times when their demons are attacking, it's not just one. Often, I'm trying to think if there's any. I don't think I've had one case of possession where it was one. It was always legion. Yeah, it was always legion. We are many. So, okay. So if you have questions, all right. So, because so many people are asking questions, and see, that's the thing. Again, trolls, you're not going to get my attention. Stop. You're going to be ignored. You're going to be blocked. So just relax, enjoy the presentation, and stop being mean. Because if you troll another person, that tells everybody you don't have Christ in your heart. Because if you truly had Christ in your heart, you wouldn't troll. Okay. So, all right, let's go. What are your questions? Oh, someone was asking stigmata. Okay, stigmata is not a curse. So the movie Stigmata is absurd. It's absolutely 1,000,000%, 100 gazillion percent absurd. Because in the movie Stigmata, this woman gets the stigmata, and the stigmata are the wounds of Christ. And she's, why am I doing this? I'm not even, faithful. I'm not even religious. I don't believe and all this other stuff. Every person who has had a legitimate case of stigmata, every person was very devout in their faith. Every person. There has never been one case of an individual who had stigmata that was not pious. None. Yeah, Cheeto. So Cheeto's asking, have I ever heard a growl without your recording? Yes. So a disembodied voice. As a matter of fact, when I was with the Chip Coffee, so if you can hear it, it's called a disembodied voice. Hello, Sydney. We were actually upstairs in the boys' room that they performed the exorcism in St. Louis. And while we were praying, I heard a growl very clearly right behind me in the closet. And they, of course, I think went on commercial or something. And I told Chip, I said, "Did you hear that?" He said, "Yeah, I heard it." So a disembodied voice. Yeah, we absolutely. I've heard. There were times I've heard my name. Growls quite often. Why can't some people see stuff? Why can't some people see stuff? Some can't, like demons and shadows. Well, I think it depends on the location. Like, for example, Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky. So the first time that I investigated that place was 35 years ago. I think the majority of people who go to Waverly Hills, you see shadow people. Now, shadow people, if someone was asking, what about shadow people? Here's the problem. I have not found shadow people to be a common denominator. In other words, I've not found, okay, all shadow people are this. I can't make that universal statement because I've been to locations where I've seen shadow people and there was nothing violent at all. Nothing. There was absolutely no indicator at all that this was a demonic or present. There was just nothing. And then I've had cases where I have seen shadow people and it was very violent. So the I guess, if you will, the theory is that when you have shadow people, that is a human spirit trying to manifest, because that takes a great deal of energy. That is a theory. So yeah, dark shadows, could it be a demon? Sure, it could. But like I just mentioned, I've not seen that to be true at all. Because not every time I've seen a shadow person have I felt demonic presence. Do I ever feel fear? The first time. Yeah, the first time, my first exorcism, I was terrified. I was the assistant. I wasn't the primary at the time. I was the assistant. And the first time I saw like a form of levitation. I've talked about this before. She was laying on the bed and she was lying on her back, and it was like someone had put a rope around her waist and just lifted her up just like that. I mean, it was just, and I heard her vertebrae. I heard it crack. I thought she had broken her back. I mean, you hurt. I was like, my gosh. But during the rite, I lift the eyelids to see if we're going into transient possession. And that's the one time that, guys, I can only answer one question at a time. That's the one time that I saw eyes go complete solid black. Now, I've studied since I was 9 years old, read books on demonology when I was a kid. And when I was in the seminary, I studied demonology extensively and what could happen. So I knew that possibility was there. Absolutely knew. But when you're in the presence and I lift the eyelids and it's black, I was taken back. And I've talked about this before, but this was a problem for me because it wasn't a dull blackness. It was like a mirror. I could actually see my reflection in her eyes. And I was completely catatonic. I couldn't move. I couldn't say anything. I mean, I was looking in the eyes of something that was far older than I had ever thought. It's a void of life. There's nothing. There's no compassion. There's nothing. Yeah, it was a powerful experience. And then, of course, the primary took me and did the blessing, and we continued. But that was a powerful experience. That was an experience that I'll always remember. I will never, ever forget, ever. So, okay, I don't know why. That's weird. We're having some problems on Book to the Face. So let me try to fix this. Okay, see what happens here. Okay. So anyway, the exorcist then took me back and we did a blessing and we continued. But that was also the time when I heard the voice. So there's a term that you're throwing the voice, and it's like in 8D. If you go on Tube to the U, and you listen to, there's an amazing sound. And if you listen to this, it goes, you can hear it behind you. You have some headsets on. You can hear it behind you, everywhere. It goes all around you. And many times there is you can hear it, but it tries to disorient you. So you have to silence the voice for a variety of reasons. What was a great question? Great question? Did it send me to a different realm? Not a different. I felt like I was prey. And I was looking in the eyes of an apex predator, ready to be devoured. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it. It was a void. And there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. Yeah, absolutely. Gregorian chant is, man, Book to the Face is having major problems. What's going on here? Wow, I've never had this issue. I'm having to stop, restart. That's weird. Okay. Oh, yeah, we are, Anne-Marie. No, I was not by myself. No, I was the second. I was the assistant. Yeah, I know, Nicole. Apparently, a Book to the Face is having some problems. So I don't know what's going on there. Okay. So what other question? Let's see. Oh, this was a while. This was my first exorcism. Yep. Can the demon take over the exorcist's body? Well, that's the difficult part about this. This is why I want you to watch the movie called The Rite. Watch the movie called The Rite. If you watch the movie, wow, this is see, folks, I'm telling you, strange things are happening. Oh, sure. This is what happens when because everything is trying to disrupt this. The battery was fully charged on my speaker. But okay. When an exorcist is performing an exorcism, the intellect and will of the exorcist and the intellect and will of the demonic are at battle. One will win, one will lose. This is why I strongly encourage you to watch the movie called The Rite with Anthony Hopkins. I think, in my opinion, it's based on Father Gary Thomas. I had him on the show once. He's a Roman Catholic priest in California. So I don't know what in the heck is going on here. Wow. That is really interesting. And every single one that I'm streaming to because on StreamYard, I'm connecting to all my other social media platforms. I'm getting reports of disconnecting. And I have to reconnect, and then my battery completely dies. So, okay. So yes, in that case, the intellect and will are at will, at battle. One will win, one will lose. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be a protection against the malice and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him. We humbly pray and do that, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God. Cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who wander through the world seeking the ruin of souls. All right. What other questions do you guys have? Otherwise, we're going to go into our articles because everybody was asking questions during the presentation. Do you not bring no? See, that's the thing. People always say, "Well, are you going to? Are you inviting demons into your home by talking about them?" No. We have to educate. That's something that we have to do. It's very, very important. Now, you go to locations that have demonic activity. Well, that's a problem. And then you put yourself in a situation. Gregorian chant, absolutely. I strongly encourage Gregorian chant. Demon or bad. See, if it's an evil spirit, malevolent, I have found that malevolent spirits, there are also hierarchies of demons. Just as there's hierarchies of angels, we know there are 3 spheres in the angelic realm. There's the first, second, and third sphere. There's classification of demons that a lot of people don't know. So there are lower ranking demons that cause havoc, that many people say, well, they're just a malevolent spirit or evil spirit. No, I absolutely think that's demonic. So when you're looking at the evil, the classifications, if you will, of demons, there are several, depending on who you look for. Even King James, I mean, he mentioned classifications, but you have a first hierarchy. And the first hierarchy, it's called it's first tiers, first sphere, hierarchy. They're all the same word. Includes angels that they were seraphim, cherubim, and thrones. That's the first hierarchy of angels. Seraphim, cherubim, and thrones. What many people don't know is Beelzebub was a prince of seraphim, just below Lucifer. And the second would be powers, dominions, and virtues. And there are demons that are underneath that. And then you have the third hierarchy. And the third hierarchy are principalities, archangels, and angels. So that's angels in heaven, but it also describes angels, demons who are fallen. So when you study demonology, there are many spirits that are classified by office and rank titles, which there are many theologians who believe that they held those titles in heaven before the fall. So, but yeah, there certainly is that. And there are, I mean, the first hierarchy is, and let me say this, there's a lot of people that don't like me to say, I don't care. Lucifer is evil. Lucifer is Satan. So we need to stop this spreading this information that Lucifer is not Satan. Yes, Lucifer is 100%. They are the same. There's a lot of people trying to put pig on makeup on a pig and tell you it's a cow. So, for example, it's about identification. Lucifer refers to his angel self because Lucifer means light. Devil refers to his evil being, his existence. And Satan refers to the concept that he is evil, as the title, Prince of Darkness. The Bible says that the devil is Satan in Revelation 12, verse 9. So it says, so the great dragon was cast out, the serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. So regarding Lucifer in the Bible, Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12, oh, how you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning, how you are cut down to the ground, you who are weak in the nations. Now, many people say, no, that was somebody else. Wrong. This Lucifer fell from heaven. Jesus said the same thing in Mark chapter 10, verse 18. So this Lucifer fell from heaven. I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. So Lucifer and Satan are one and the same. Lucifer is Satan. Name changes often denote changes in characters in the Bible. So Lucifer's light bearer, once a good angel, becomes Satan, the adversary. Lucifer, light bringer, was the original name. His name was changed to the devil because of the slanderer, the accuser. Satan, adversary, opposer, after he apostatized. So we know Satan and the devil are one and the same. So the name Lucifer occurs only once in the Bible, the Hebrew Bible. It's in Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12 through 15. Lilith, there is no proof of that. That's a Jewish legend, if you will. And so we can, Revelation 12, 7 through 9, we can conclude all three are one and the same. So there's no question at all. No, meditation is absolutely, nothing was wrong. The Bible talks about prayer and meditation. It's a low-level targets. They has 1/3 of our force. Well, because they do the heavy work. Remember, you have to understand, folks, when a demon, let's just say, hold on. I know there's a lot of questions, guys. I can only answer one at a time. So when you let's say you go to a location, and this location is known to have demonic activity. You say, come on, I dare you to do something. You're not provoking, you are inviting. The invitation is accepted. Now you have what's called a demonic attachment. You go home, and because of that attachment, now you have what's called demonic infestation. No, I was friends with Lorraine Warren. I did not know Ed, but I was friends with Lorraine. So you have now an infestation issue. Because you have an infestation, then the demonic will begin to attack you on an oppressive level, and then obsession. So it begins to attack your intellect and will. Scratching, biting, pinching, causing extreme sleep deprivation. You're terrified. I mean, you're terrified. You're seeing this thing. And now you're hearing it. So it's trying to break the person's intellect and will. And then you have, of course, possession. But many times, there are multiple demons, legions, that will possess the person at once. That's why when you perform an exorcism, you cast out one demon, and you'll have to probably cast out another. So depending. This is why there's two things that we require. Two. Number one, there's no such thing as a conversation during an exorcism. That doesn't exist. No such thing. There are two things we command. Its name and the hour of departure. That's it. Anything else, you silence the voice. The name, because once you know the name, then you begin having control. If you have control, you know that the intellect and will of the demon is starting to be eradicated. Once it surrenders its name, it's over. And so many times, when the exorcism begins, it will say Lucifer, Satan, or Beelzebub, to try to intimidate you. And so many times it says this. So you just continue. Well, Vinny, I think we all have that ability. So, have I been physically injured? The only time I've been, the first exorcism, I wasn't physically injured, but that was absolutely a mental attack, an intellectual attack, where I was completely catatonic. Emily Rose, 100% true, 100% true. So Emily Rose, as a matter of fact, I'm going to do a presentation again on Emily Rose. Emily Rose, for those of you who don't know, is the exorcism of Emily Rose. Her name was Anneliese Michel. She was German. Anneliese was 68 pounds when she passed away. 68 pounds. They performed exorcism on her for 10 months. And the problem with that, they should have immediately stopped. The issue is the family had given up on all type of medical help because they claimed that the medicines were actually just causing her more pain. So they stopped. And even Anneliese said, I don't. Anneliese suffered from transient possession. And so the family stopped all medical help. They just said no more. If I were the exorcist and I saw this individual wither down to 68 pounds, I would have said, listen, we cannot continue. She can't physically continue. Now, Anneliese had a vision in which she saw the Blessed Mother. And Mary told her in this vision, you can come now and we can end this and you can go to heaven. Or you could continue this so that you can continue to spread this message that possession exists, that it's real. Anneliese said that she chose to stay. So I think her family, the priest should have stopped it. I think they were, I think they were in over their heads. But at the same time, the family and Anneliese was like, we don't want to stop. So yeah, that's Anneliese Michel. For those of you who don't know, it's the exorcism of Emily Rose. For those of you who are new, let me grab this. I'll give you a little bit of information about this. Her name was Anneliese Michel. So this was in 1975 and 1976. Oh, sure, certainly. Yeah, Vicky. So Annalise was a young Catholic girl who was reportedly possessed. Her parents sought an exorcism rite because the medicines were not helping. Catholic priests, they conducted multiple exorcism rites, and medical professionals who treated her for epileptic and psychiatric symptoms, they stated it was a medical explanation. They were dismissing the idea of possession altogether. However, here is what was observed and reported. I was on a documentary with the Booth brothers, very good friends of mine. I did 5 documentaries with them, and they did a documentary on the possessed. And so what was reported is severe progressive symptoms. She had epileptic seizures, self-inflicted injuries, refusing food, speaking in unfamiliar voices, levitation, and some clergy saw possession as a genuine demon, while medical professionals saw severe epilepsy. She had passed away. They did not expel the demon. And so because of that, the priests they had to go to trial, as well as their family. So in 1978, German authorities convicted Annalise's parents and 2 priests for negligent homicide due to withholding medical treatment. So there was a lot of investigation and controversies. There was ethical debate about the limits of exorcisms, questions about the adequacy of the medical treatment, which they stopped. The case remains controversial, but a lot of people will say, well, I don't believe it. I think it's nonsense. Okay, that's fair. But in a moment, you won't. I have the actual soundbite of Annalise McKell. I studied this extensively when I was in the seminary. And I want you to listen. I'll put the microphone here so you can hear it. So immediately people are going to dismiss it and say, oh, it's nonsense and blah, 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 blah. Here's what you can't explain then. I had a friend of mine that works in film, movies. I mean, he's a professional engineer. His equipment is $1 million equipment. I mean, it's the top of the line. So I sent it to him and I said, I want you to tell me how many voices, how many pitches you hear. And he had no idea what this was. He said, well, this is not possible. So what do you mean? And he said, well, it's not humanly possible. Where did he ask me? I didn't tell him the backstory or anything. I said, I just need to know how many pitches it is. 32. He was able to find 32 pitches at the same time. That's not human. It's not possible. It is not possible. Tibetan monks who study vocalization, I believe there's one monk that I know that I've read about that can do 3. And they train their voice all their lives. She had 32. What that means is, imagine having a choir. You have some people singing low notes, some people singing high notes, middle notes, some middle notes. You have this huge choir, 32 people, and each person is singing a different note. Some are really low, some are really high, all at the same time. She had 32. So many of the naysayers out there, didn't explain it. And this has been validated. This was not, he can tell if anything, he can tell if it's been spliced or cut or all that other, whatever. That's original. Have I heard voices like that? Yes. Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's when many times what will happen is when they're screaming like that guttural scream, it will be very disorienting. So you'll hear it behind you. So while you can hear it, the person that might be here in front of you, you can also hear it behind you here. It's like 8D, and behind it goes around. It's like it circles. Imagine if you had speakers all around the room, and it was just going back and forth because it's disorienting. It tries to disorient you so that, to stop the exorcism. Truly, the best thing, here's the best, let me show you the absolute best 8D, and then you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. I'll show it to you. Here it is. I think, is this it? Hold on. I want to make sure I think, or is this? Hang on one second, and I'll show it to you. That way you guys can see it. No. No. Oh, hush. I'm trying to find it for you guys because I really want you guys to, because once you hear it, you're like, okay, that's pretty cool. No, bear with me. I'll find it. Hush. Oh, that's going to drive me absolutely mad. Don't you? I swear it's this. Let me see if this is it. Yeah, I can't find it now, of course. But just if you type in 8D surround sound. No, that's definitely not it. What kind of nonsense music is this? Okay. But anyway, it's 8D, and it goes around and around and around. Maybe one day if I find it, when I do a presentation again, hopefully I'll be able to find it so you guys can hear it. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, that's you'll be able to hear. So why are some homes unable to be cleansed from demons after many multiple attempts? Well, I would question, well, what are they using? Or what are they using? What prayer are they using? Are they using any what's called sacramentals of the church? Holy water, blessed chalk. You can do what's called the epiphany of the doors, blessing of the doors, chalking of the doors. It's all the same. You guys can do that. They have to heal. They have to start healing themselves, the narcissist. So epiphany of the doors, chalking of the doors. You can Google that. And so the sacramentals of the church are like blessed incense, blessed oil, blessed holy water, and blessed chalk. Those are sacramentals of the church. And so depending, there's the minor rite of exorcism. So you have what's called a minor rite. The minor rite is reserved for when a demonic entity has infested itself in the home. You don't perform an exorcism on the home. That does not exist. There's no such thing. You can't perform an exorcism on a home. You bless the home. You perform an exorcism on the demonic that has infested itself in the home. So a lot of people get that confused. Okay. So I don't know. It just depends on what prayer they're using and who is doing this. So yeah, I'm not really 44. I'm not. It would be difficult for me to say what. I don't know. No, I've never been. I have not been to Zach's museum. No. Go together. Yeah, I agree, John. I agree. Absolutely, Cheryl. And I appreciate you asked that question. I played it multiple times. Um, I have a sound. Let me do this right now. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea, Cheryl. Let me play this for you guys. Something that's so profound. One of my all-time favorite things that I've ever heard in my life. Ever. I'm glad you asked that question. Thank you, Cheryl. I think it was Cheryl who asked, you've heard demons. Have you heard angels? Oh, gosh, Laura, there's quite a few. So this sound that I'm about to play for you is so profound. I heard this story many years ago. This was I think she was 80 years old or so. And she loved going to Israel, and she went to this church. And she would take her cassette recorder, and she loved listening to the music in the choir. Well, she actually did what she always does, and she took the little cassette recorder, and the choir was singing Hallelujah. No big deal. But she forgets to stop the tape, and she lets it record. And then when she gets home, she hears something profound. The music stops, but the singing doesn't. Now, they didn't hear it. This was a cassette recorder. Obviously, this was not tampered in any way. I mean, this was in the 80s, 70s, or late 70s, 80s, long time ago. But this is an actual recording. I got my hands on it. Actually, my mentor is the one who got my hands on, gave me a copy of this. And so this is the angels singing in Israel. Listen to this, beautiful. This is the choir. And then they stop. No one is singing. They can't hear anything. This is what she picked up. Again, this is an 80-year-old woman. That's profound. I mean, that's what we would call, now that's an EVP. You know, EVP stands for electronic voice phenomena. And yeah, boy, that was profound. When I heard that the first time, I thought, my gosh, absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So let me just do this real quick. For those of you who are listening to this on podcast, we say goodnight to you guys. I want to remind everybody that tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and oh gosh, we've been around for quite some time. So if you would like to join us tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you're more than welcome. We would love to have you. We pray for one another, and that's what we do. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to upload this now so you guys can have this on podcast for some of you who want it. Just go to bishopjameslong.com, scroll down, and to where it says official social media links, and you click on Spreaker and publish. There we go. So don't forget. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hang tight with me, TikTok. I'll be with you guys in just 1 second. I'm going to close everybody out here, and I'll let you guys know. Believe me, I don't know if the show next week is going to be starting at 8. I'm not for sure yet, but either it will be next week or the week after, where we'll start our shows at 8 p.m. on Friday. But I'll let you know in plenty of time. For those of you who are on all the other social media platforms, I tell you all the time, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. You're priceless, and don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Hopefully, I'll see you tonight at 10 p.m. for night prayer. God bless.